Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. You folks can get at us on our Twitter forums, at SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. We got a little bit to talk about today. We got until 10 o'clock. We're going to start with the Lady Aces. We're going to give you guys a bit of an overview of how the season's going. A bit of a rough start. It's not the Lady Aces we've seen the last couple of years. It's a little weird because they are stacked. I think they're dealing with a little bit of some injury issues. I also think the team was kind of remodeled a bit, but we'll touch more on that. On top of that, UFC 303, June 29th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Conor McGregor versus Chandler. It's officially up in the air again. It's officially up in the air again. The biggest gate, the highest selling pay-per-view of all time, and we don't even know if it's going to happen or not, because it seems as though Conor McGregor might be dealing with some minor health issues, and there are reports that this might be rebooked in 2024. So we could have a wait. Even though it's one of the most anticipated fights in UFC history, we could have a wait on our hands, and that stinks. And you guys already know, we got to finish with our Raiders, the main team in Las Vegas now. You guys can't convince me otherwise. We're going to finish with the Raiders. There's a lot of reporting going on, calling OTAs. I got a chance to listen to a few interviews from Antonio Pierce and from the new GM, Tom Telesco. I'm really excited about talking about those, analyzing those a little bit. This team is just different, and I'm optimistic, cautiously, but I'm definitely optimistic because this team does look different than it has in the past. Absolutely different than it has in the past. If you guys missed the show, don't worry about that because we're live on StreamYard. Second ever episode on StreamYard. We're on every major platform, right? YouTube, Apple Pods, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Pods. We were on Amazon Music. JioSaavn. I'm going to mess that up every single time, but I don't care. It sounds better anyway in French or something. Follow us on IE Sports Radio on Twitter, X, excuse me. My bad, Elon, don't cancel us. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at IE Sports Radio. And real quick, before we get into the show, we got to talk about our sponsors. Planet Jerky, premium beef jerky. That jerky is on a whole other planet. And Cecilia, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, here with IE Sports Radio. And Larry's in the chat. Love it, man. We get back here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports and especially talk about the fastest growing sports market in America. You can't tell me otherwise. Quick shout out to our sponsors, right? Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky that's on a whole other planet. You guys can order Planet Jerky at planetjerky.net. On top of that, Cecilia, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. You guys pick the seal, she'll seal the deal. That's what we do. Cecilia B, she's always killing it. I like the idea of those because that's a great business form, by the way, because there are a lot of folks that wedding invitations, baby shower invites. How about for the men out there? Diaper cakes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got a shout out to the men, you know what I'm saying? Bachelor parties. You can make invites for almost every single thing, little postcards, thank you notes. Why not seal the deal with wax seals, right? That's a commercial that's on a whole other level. What are we talking about here? That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Lady Aces, rough season so far, guys. It has been a weird start to the year for the Lady Aces, especially for a team that is basically – they're battling back for their third straight title in WNBA. I don't know if that's ever been done in WNBA history. So it is something of note because we have to track it. Slight conversations in past shows where you have the big three, right? You have Kelsey Plum. You have A'ja Wilson, who is still one of the best players in all of basketball by far. Jackie Young can still kill it, shoot it from three. Are they dealing with some injury issues, some nagging ones? A little bit. Yeah. Little bit issues, and so much so that we see the Aces in a very unfamiliar spot, which is the 7th seed. Normally, they're the first seed, and it's usually by a couple games. Or they're flirting with the Chicago Sky, who is also much lower on the totem pole this year than in years past with the WNBA. So weird things are happening with the WNBA. I think we're seeing changing of the guard. Those young rookies from last year and this year are really starting to step up in the WNBA. We're starting to see more talent infused into this league, and it's more meaningful than ever before because we have more eyes on the WNBA than we've seen in years past. I don't know if I've ever seen this much coverage on the WNBA. Ever. I don't think you can tell me otherwise. And listen, I think Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, their little feud right now is hilarious. But it's bringing attention and it's bringing primetime television to the WNBA. So how do you guys combat the whole wage difference in sports? Make your brand more marketable. And so far, the WNBA has been able to do that. How do the Las Vegas Lady Aces keep up with that? They're going for a three-peat. So they're in a different position than a lot of other teams have ever been in because, again, it's never been done before. So as a three-peat, I mean, you still have to push your stars. You still have to look at what the big three brings to the table. Are you monitoring their minutes, right? I mean, you have to start asking those questions. We talked about it last week. Every single one of those stars are on the right side of 30 this year. Next year, we see a bit of an age, right? A'ja Wilson's going to be 30. Kelsey Plum's going to be roughly 30 years old. Jackie Young, I believe she's 30 now. She will be 31. Basketball is slightly different, okay? But you're still, once you guys as a professional athlete start reaching those ages, the age of 30 plus, that's when you have to start asking questions like, are you healthy enough? Is there enough depth around you? Yes, they're going to be extremely talented. I put it in terms of the LeBron James effect, right? The guy is just extremely healthy. He's a freak of nature on a whole other planet, right? Just like Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, right? On a whole other planet. LeBron James is that effect. Well, you could say the same thing for like an A'ja Wilson, who's absolutely running the league or has run the league the last few years. I totally believe that. She's been the best basketball player the last few years. But you have to ask yourself, is LeBron really the LeBron that we've seen in the years past? Probably not. Let's be real. He's still excellent. He's still one of the top 5 scorers and defenders in the league. But let's be real. They have to put depth around him in order for him to be competitive moving forward. So much so the Lakers, I think they understand. They see him every day. The Lakers are probably thinking, how are we going to make this roster better while he's on the roster? The Las Vegas Lady Aces are going to have to do the exact same thing. They're going to have to reevaluate the roster. They're going to have to ask, hey, are these young people good enough to support this big three, especially when the big three or one of the big three needs a rest? Because it happens. A professional schedule is grueling. I'm not complaining for them because they're very, very privileged to play professional football. It's a privilege, or professional basketball, but it's a privilege to play pro sports. And so I'm not making excuses for them. They still got to go out and perform because they signed a contract, and that's part of the sport. It is what it is. But there are times where they're going to need rest. There are times when overall when the team's going to have to say, hey, we got to think long-term. If we get into the playoffs in the 5th seed and we're healthy, we're one of the most dangerous teams in the WNBA, period. As the 5th seed. It doesn't matter what seed you're in. You have a big three that no other team can beat right now when you're healthy. So I think the Lady Aces are going to have to start talking about what are they going to be able to do to keep their girls healthy. It's that simple in long term, because again, you're getting closer to the 30-year mark. They're going to have to figure out a good playing regimen and a good schedule regimen. Now, the WNBA is not as long as a regular NBA season by any means, but you still have to think about the wear and tear that these young ladies have gone through, being that they've two-peat, like they've doubled. I mean, literally, they've won 2 years in a row, which means they've gone deeper than any other team 2 years in a row. So you have to factor that in. Sometimes that wears on you, right? It's to kind of relate to it. The Chiefs are going for their 3-peat, right? I don't think it happens. I don't think it happens because they're going deep. Your main players have gone deep in the playoffs and into a Super Bowl run for 2 straight years. They could very easily make the Super Bowl because the AFC is, I mean, it's a gauntlet, right? But sooner or later, you have to start asking yourself, are you going to be healthy enough when it matters most? And that's what the Lady Aces have to look at. Are you going to be healthy enough when it matters most? If not, you need to start taking hits now. That way you're healthy later. That's just my thoughts on the Lady Aces in that aspect. Still a great team. You have the big three. A'ja Wilson's averaging roughly 28 points a game, roughly 11.5 rebounds. Jackie Young, 6.5 assists. So you have your big three players are absolutely killing it. On top of that, by the way, A'ja Wilson, 28 points a game. That's phenomenal. That's incredible. You just don't see that very often, right? Kelsey Plum, 18.8. Jackie Young, 17.8. I would say between the three of them, the highest average you could find from a big three in the league by far. They just got to bring it together, and the whole team has to contribute. That's just the way it is in pro sports sometimes. Absolutely the way it is in pro sports. So as of right now, the Lady Aces, according to ESPN, they're 7th. We have WNBA standings. It looks like they're in 6th. They're 6-6. They're right at 500. 5-4 at home, 3-4 away. They lost. They're on a 1-game losing streak. They were, I think, on a 3-game win streak at one point, and they've kind of backed off from that. So it's kind of like what we talked about for the Golden Knights during their run to try and get into the playoff standings. Hey, man, win every 3 out of 4. You win every 3 out of 4, you're putting yourself in great position, seeding-wise, in great position to be a playoff contender. It's that simple. I think the Lady Aces have to look into that moving forward as well. Taking a look at the chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Got Larry B saying, let's go, as always. Larry B's being the great teammate he is, and he's producing tonight's show. The man, the myth, the legend himself. Thank you so much for doing that. You're a busy man. Maybe not right now because you're on summer break, but guess what? You're still a busy man. Still got a lot of things going on. Man was just finishing eating his dinner, and I hope it was a good dinner before he popped on here to help me out. Because if I have my hair gelled. If I don't have my hair gelled, I need a helmet. I mean, that's just me. That's who I am. So thank God for him to help me out with this. Taryn chimes in. Good evening, Kayle. Have an awesome show as always. Taryn being that amazing teammate. We are near episode 100. We are 2 episodes away from 100. That is epic. Ralph, good evening, Kayle. Feeling better after doing my show, partially dehydrated. Like Larry said, let's go. Man, I hope you're dehydrated because you're not feeling well. Instead of heat dehydration, man, because the heat's starting to sneak up on people around the states. For real. I know that Nebraska was mid-90s and it felt like 102 degrees or whatever with humidity and all that crap for like the last week or so. Some places in America are absolutely getting just tarnished with the heat advisories and stuff like that. It's only going to get worse because as we get into July and August, man, that's like some of the worst months that you're going to see. So, man, I hope you're staying hydrated. Take care of yourself. Larry said tacos. Hey, man, that's a meal of choice right there. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to take a quick break real quick here. I have a couple of shows here on IE Sports Radio we'd love to bring attention to when we get back here on the break here in the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
Ladies and sinners, welcome back to the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. You guys can catch us on our Twitter forums. We've gone over it once. We're going to go over it twice, maybe 3 times here. Yeah, absolutely. Bring that banner up, Larry. I love it, man. He's on the quick today. At Sin City _IESR is where you guys can get at us on our Twitter forum for the show. On my personal at Kayle _Henderson, we talk all things Vegas sports. You guys can follow us on IE Sports Radio, right? X. Sorry, Elon, I almost flubbed it again. Don't cancel us. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at IE Sports Radio. Check us out. Make sure you guys go to the IE Sports Radio website, by the way. Like, follow, share, listen into old episodes, maybe old StreamYard episodes. There's only 2 now, but hey, we got it. Check out the merch at iesportsradio.com/shop, right? Make sure you guys get in there, get your shirts, get the memorabilia, support the station because we have a lot of hardworking people that come in, do their shows in their free time. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, I have a blast. You guys see it. The way I'm acting now with a camera in front of my face, I'm this animated when there isn't a camera in my face. So imagine what I'd be like as a coach, by the way. It's just the way I roll. If you guys miss a show, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that because we have every major platform where you guys can check the show out. Once again, available on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music / Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, JioSfun. I messed it up. I don't even care. You know, the one thing I'm not going to mess up, guys, this is a weird little segue, but guess what? I found out I have a boy on the way. Just found out yesterday. I have a boy on the way, folks. I have a little Kayle on the way, and I hope he's just like me. And I hope this little Kayle is an absolute terror to his mom, obviously respectful, but keeps her running, keeps her on her toes. Super excited for that. My fiance showed up at my job unannounced, didn't give me any warning she's going to be there. All of a sudden, I had this spine-tingling thing going on at my job yesterday, sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden I hear her voice. I'm like, oh, what is that? What is that? You know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And then I look in the storefront. There's my fiance just chilling there. She wanted to come in. We've been waiting for the results to come in. They told us 7 to 10 business days. Came in about 7 business days. And yeah, baby, it's a boy. The only thing I didn't like about that experience is they asked me like 20 questions before giving me the only answer I really wanted. Okay, ridiculous. But hey, that's how medical is. It was ridiculous. It was almost like you were trying to purchase something on a website that you probably shouldn't be purchasing on, and they're like, "Are you sure?" Yes, I'm sure. I want to know the gender of my kid. Okay, I'm sure I want to know. So yeah, that was an experience. Super excited, guys. And we've already agreed on the name is Creed, which is going to be a badass name. Absolute badass name. That kid's going to walk into a room and already win the fight just because of his name alone, which is sick. All right. And it wasn't because of Apollo Creed. I'm just telling you in general, that name just stuck out to me and I feel like it's badass. Same middle name as myself and my dad as well, Creed Michael. So it'll be a good name. We're really excited. December 19th. So I'm going to do everything I can to be here, guys, and be in the show. But you guys know how it is. Once that baby comes, that comes first. And the health of my fiance comes first. And I will make sure I keep you guys posted on socials as to what's going to happen there. But super excited, as you can tell. It's a personal moment. Hey, man, if we're going to be in this together, Sin City, you guys got to know who I am. I am who I am. I wear my heart on my sleeve, right? What you see is what you get. And usually when people give me a shot, they're very pleasantly surprised, right? They're very pleasantly, I don't know. Yeah, surprised. I think Larry B could say that. You know, he just asked me to come on a show one day, and then all of a sudden we've had like an 8-year relationship, which is crazy. It's been that quick already, right? We've had an 8-year relationship. I was the first host on the Neutral Zone. Took over with Nico Green, which was badass, buddy. Let me tell you, that was a lot of fun. Talked all things hockey, and every once in a while, Larry said, "Hey, this guy knows football. I'm going to bring him on our shows. I'm going to talk to him on the defining moment. I'm going to have him on 3 and Out, which he has multiple editions of 3 and Out. Larry B hosts, not to mention the sports couple with his wife Cecilia B. Man's busy, crazy man. He's getting it done. Not to mention running a radio station. Thank you to the people listening into the show tonight, as always. Ralph, host of the Yinzer Report, dude. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you. Larry B, 500 shows. Good Lord have mercy, man. You're like IE Sports Radio grandpa. We need to send you a walker with a fresh tennis balls to put on that walker on a daily basis, man. That's crazy. You're getting some mileage on there. Ralph, thank you so much for tuning in. Host of the Yinzer Report. Ted Rodriguez is a teammate, a man, the myth, the legend himself. He has multiple shows as well. Set Point, our resident volleyball expert here on IE Sports Radio. On top of that, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where he talks a lot about the Chargers and anything Southern Los Angeles, the Rams, right? All that relevancy as far as LA sports goes is concerned, and that probably takes up majority of it because it is such a huge sports market. But he's also a co-host on 3 and Out. So Terren's huge. In the community. He's huge in the IE Sports Radio community. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show today. And I always have to give a shout out to my teammates that take the time to listen to me. I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate Larry helping me produce today. Moving on, segueing. We talked last week about UFC 303. It's kind of been up in the air. We had some, it's for sure happening. now we're getting reports that it's probably going to get rebooked this year, and it's because of an injury McGregor's dealing with. Now, is it an injury, or is it because he's trying to get off the juice after being in that Prime Video special that he was on, the Roadhouse remake, right? Wasn't that bad, but he was definitely bulked up. You could tell. He's been putting on some muscle, naturally, of course. Naturally, yeah. No needles in his ass. Anyway, he's fighting an injury. Dana White, as of Thursday evening last week, basically said he's calling off the fight as of right now. I think they're going to rebook it for 2024, which is a bummer, man, because it was going to happen here at the T-Mobile Arena, UFC 303. It was huge, man. I thought it was going to be a big fight. It was already drawing again, and this is according to Forbes.com, right? Writer, I want to make sure I give him credit, Trent Reinsmith. He's a contributor and a writer for Forbes.com. UFC had the promotion looking at a UFC record gate of more than $20 million. $20 million. UFC record, by far. That fight fell off the card a little more than 2 weeks ago before the fight night because McGregor basically had to leave due to injury. It was kind of left up in the air, but last Thursday, Dana, said it's probably not going to happen. What they're going to do, and I'll say this, I'll add some context. Dana White is unsure if Conor McGregor is ever going to fight again. The dude's made millions. Like, I think he sold his whiskey company for roughly $1 billion, if I remember correctly. Proper 12. So, yeah, the McGregor-Chandler fight is looking to be postponed. I hope it happens. But you also have to look at it from Conor's perspective. He's done everything he's needed to do in the UFC. The UFC doesn't – Conor McGregor doesn't need the UFC as much as the UFC needs Conor McGregor to stay relevant, right? So I hope he fights, but if he chooses not to, man, he's made his millions. He's done a really good job. He came up from nothing, dude. And he was one of those fighters that would take almost any fight short notice. If a fighter that he was going up against all of a sudden got hurt, we've seen the famous video. I think it was Aldo or something like that got hurt last second. He's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Dana White's sitting in his kitchen. He's drinking his electrolytes after a hard training session, looking skinny and cut as ever, because that's what happens with wrestlers and UFC fighters. Like, they have to cut weight to make their weight class. And Conor just looks at him, doesn't miss a beat. And he goes, are you kidding? Well, who am I fighting? Like, no hesitation, man. And it's a famous video. That's why people really respect Conor McGregor. Yeah, he talks a lot of shit. Yeah, he can be extremely annoying. Yes, he's Irish. But you know what? And yes, he might need subtitles when he talks. Don't sue me. I'm just being real with you, right? He might need subtitles when he talks, but he's entertaining and he's real, man. I think he hits people on an emotional level that they can understand. I think most people want to be as genuine as Conor is, but they don't do a good enough job striving to be that way. And I think he's a great example of, yes, he's brash, but it seems like he does it for the right reasons. His family, his future, generational wealth, like, there's nothing wrong with that. And Conor's shown that he's willing to just take any fight. So he has nothing to prove anymore, right? Is he 1-3 since 2018? Yes. That is unfortunate. He's 1-3. But if we're being honest, he did go up against Khabib. And I don't know, man. Khabib is arguably, dude, it's hard not to put Khabib in the top 3 UFC all time. It's really hard. Khabib was just different. The man has videos of him wrestling bears as a child. What the? Dude, are you serious? Russia's different, boy. Russia's different. I'm out here eating ribs on a daily basis just trying to cut weight. And that homie's wrestling bears like it's fun. And swimming up ice-cold Russian rivers. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but Khabib is nuts. So I kind of give Conor McGregor a pass on that because Khabib is crazy good. Crazy good. John Jones is obviously the top ever. Can't change my mind. Nobody's ever beaten John Jones. It is what it is. But yeah, UFC 303. Unfortunately, we're looking at a little bit of a change. But I will say this. If he does fight again, it's going to be crazy popular, right? I don't think it should be. It's probably going to be one of the top gates ever. Again, pay-per-view was showing that it was going to be a top gate. The contracts, payments, how much they were getting paid for the fight in itself was showing that it's going to be very impressive. So, I mean, when the guy decides to come back, he's going to have nothing but crazy support. And there's so many more forums, by the way, to watch the UFC, right? ESPN Plus, they have pay-per-view agreements with ESPN Plus and other ways to get the fights. It's just more accessible than it's ever been. And I think that's just best for the UFC when Conor McGregor's there. But if he chooses not to go, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. We're going to take a quick break here, guys. Another couple more drops from teammates here at IE Sports Radio. When we get back, we're going to finish up the show with the Raiders, as we always do here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Ladies and sinners, welcome back from the break. Huge shout out to Taryn Rodriguez. As you guys can tell, he does a lot of work, especially in his line of work when it comes to being the resident expert, volleyball expert here on IE Sports Radio. Man's interviewing somebody on a weekly basis. He's traveling. He's attending volleyball matches. He does a great job, man. So shout out to Taryn Rodriguez for being a great teammate. Hey, guys, if you guys missed the show, I know I've said this before, but I got to say it again. If you guys missed the show, you don't have to worry about it. We're on every major platform you can think of. Apple Pods, Google Pods, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, right? Amazon Music or Audible, CastBox, Deezer, Addict, Podchaser, Geospan. I mean, we're everywhere, guys. You can download any of those apps. Go to IE Sports Radio / Sin City Sports. You can likely just type in Sin City Sports Show on any of those forums, and you guys would have no problems following, liking, listening to shows, and please do so because it helps out the algorithm. Shout out to the viewers tonight. We had over 100 last week. We're slowly seeing them trickle in here. I wonder if it's because of the Raiders effect. I don't know. Like, I get it. Larry loves talking about other sports, but man, Raiders, that's what I'm talking about, baby. That's where it's at. And for the first time in a long time, they are relevant, which is crazy. It's been, guys, the last time the Raiders have been truly relevant was probably 2002. I know 2016 was amazing. Like, you saw them comebacks and stuff, but it was kind of a fluke thing because, you know, you should never have to, you know, in your 12 wins, if 7 of them are comebacks, you're just not a very good football team. I hate to say that. I'm just being real with you. Derek Carr was having that magical season that everyone really loved to see, and he was on the brink of being the MVP winner that year. I mean, I'm adamant that he would have won MVP that season if he did not get hurt. Because the kid had already had 30 touchdowns. I think he had like 6 interceptions. They still had 2 games to go. I don't know, man. Just my thoughts, right? And for whatever reason, Del Rio, and then I'm still sour about it, didn't pull them when they had a 17-point lead in the fourth. I don't care if there's 10 minutes left, man. You had a 17-point lead. You're the number one seed at that point. Pull your quarterback, bro. Pull your quarterback. Because that next week in Denver was the difference between being the number one seed, winning your division, and or possibly number 2 seed, and being a wild card game against the Texans, right? Margins matter. That's the last time the Raiders were relevant, right? 2016. Before that, a contender was 2002, where we got absolutely shellacked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right, in Super Bowl. I believe that was in Miami. It was tough to watch that game. It was tough to watch your former head coach that was traded away kick your ass. It stinks. But there's positivity, man. There's positivity all over the Raiders right now, the news forums, whether it's A to Z Sports, whether it's the Gridiron Heroics, Fansided, Sports Illustrated, Raiders Wire, ESPN.com. I mean, every one of these sources are excited about the Raiders' possibilities because they're an unknown right now, man. The league wants the Raiders to be good. You can say what you want about the Raiders, but the league is in the best spot there is when the Raiders, the Cowboys, right? There are specific teams that when they are good, the league is just so much better. It's so much more marketable. And the Raiders are one of those teams. It's the silver and black. They're legendary. What Al Davis did to establish the tradition of the program and its marketability is huge. I don't know if it's really been repeated very well over the years. So that's just you can hate the Raiders all you want, but secretly there's a lot of people who hate the Raiders, but they want them to win because it helps the NFL, period. So that's case in point there, right? Christian Wilkins being added to the team and basically creating one of the most dominant defensive lines in the league as long as they stay healthy. I fully believe him, Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson. I think they're going to absolutely wreak havoc this year. And that's what's being said out of OTAs. That is what's being said. It is crazy, the work ethic that's going on between these guys, what they're seeing. And the other thing I'm liking is the interviews. And we touched base on this at the beginning of the show. Antonio Pierce sat down, Tom Telesco sat down with the Raiders social media. By the way, they do an excellent job of creating videos and bringing coverage. So I got to give them some credit. It's kind of hard. Dude, when you listen to other teams' media events, when you listen to other teams' press conferences, like the Saints, you can never hear the questions being asked. Like the audio is garbage. Audio is terrible. But the Raiders, they never miss. They do a good job. Which helps me, helps the show, helps you guys. But listening to Antonio Pierce talk about the team, you can tell that he's been through some learning experiences this offseason. You can tell that he admits that he's a young coach. He's a first-time head coach on his own, but he understands he has a lot of support. He's got a lot of love from the Raider organization right now. And you can just kind of tell that this game in general, that this team in general is a different team than what we've seen the last few years. Like the intent, the way these guys are talking in their interviews. Like the last 2 years under McDaniels, you had players that felt like they were on ice all the time, walking on eggshells. You could just tell by the way they were interviewing when the media was asking them questions. They never wanted to say the wrong thing, or they probably had little man Josh getting upset with them about, hey, you're not doing it the right way. All these things stay in-house. Well, guess what? Sometimes when things stay in-house, they don't get resolved. And that's what happened. And that's why he's looking for another job. I'm just being real with you guys, right? But good for us because Antonio Pierce got a shot. You guys know my stance on Antonio Pierce. I'm really excited. A lot of support behind him. The Raider organization loves him. Did I want Jim Harbaugh over him? Yes. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Jim Harbaugh is a proven winner. But I'm also one of those that said, if we can't get Jim, I am perfectly fine with rolling the dice with Antonio Pierce because he deserved it. The team was different. I love that he's got a ton of support, man. I love that Joe Philbin, former head coach, Marvin Lewis, former head coach, both on this staff, both advising him on a consistent basis. You have legends like Rob Ryan, brother of Rex Ryan, who's been a defensive assistant for years in the NFL, like very highly coveted defensive assistant is Rob Ryan. And he has nothing but rave things to say about the way the Raiders organization is being run right now. And he knows because he was part of the old regime. And he was asked to come back. And he's an excellent linebackers coach, by the way. Rob Ryan is an excellent linebackers coach. the development we've seen from Divine Diablo the last couple of years under him has been phenomenal. And I don't think he's talked about enough. You have that defensive line getting all that attention, but Robert Spillane and Divine Diablo and his versatility are nuts. Excellent players. Excellent players. So we have a really valuable staff, man. And I've named all those guys, and I didn't even talk about Patrick Graham, who's probably going to be a head coach next year. That's how good he's done, how well he's done. He literally took a team, franchise, that was at the very bottom of defense for like 10 straight years, almost 10 straight years, one of the worst defenses in a decade. And he turned them into a number one defense in the last half of last season when, guess who, was fired, and he was able to go and do his own thing and blitz more and find some more freedom on the defensive side of the football. And I just don't think we had as complete of a roster last year when we were making those changes and causing and inflicting that damage. I don't think we had the same kind of roster we do now. So it's really exciting. And you can tell that the players are taking in the attitude of Antonio Pierce. So much so that it feels like Tom Telesco, who commented on the roster, he said, hey, we want guys that fit the Raider way. We want guys that we feel could have plugged themselves in the late 70s, early 80s, those Raiders teams, and absolutely beat the dog shit out of people. Like that's the type of players they're looking for. Because you don't find it in many spots in the NFL. I can only think of one or two teams in the NFL right now that are probably extremely physical, right? The Ravens. They're always physical, man. There's just something about that team. John Harbaugh and the way they want to run downhill and set up play action. Big, beefy offensive line. They spend tons of capital in the draft on offensive line. The Ravens do. They're one of those teams that I find to be extremely physical. I think Philly is an extremely physical team. Philly is going to be a team that is going to live and die on the run game this year. Shout out to Philly Sports, by the way. You guys have great teams coming up this year. I'm telling you, it's going to be excellent. I think Philadelphia is going to be right back in it, man. I really do. I think they're going to be right back in that contender circle. They were last year, and then they kind of fell off. I don't think that'll be a problem this year by any means. So a lot of changes have happened in this Raiders locker room. A lot of changes have happened in this Raiders organization. And one of the favorite ones I'm hearing is positive news from players, from established players about current players and their status, the way they're growing in OTAs, things like that. For example, Devontae Adams came out and he raved about Aiden O'Connell. He said the competition's going well. He thinks it's a great competition. But by the same token, when you look at all the reports, Aiden O'Connell is absolutely leading that competition right now. He just looks like he has a stronger arm, more zip. He's more accurate. He seems like he has great command of the huddle. You got veterans like Devontae Adams speaking up and saying, dude, this guy he's making he's making great throws. So you're getting support from one of the best players in the league. I've been telling you guys for weeks, prepare yourself for Aiden O'Connell to start. Like, to me, he's on a 4th-round contract. So he's a super cheap contract, like maybe $1.5 million a year type contract, if that. Everyone was talking about, oh, well, we spent a ton of money on Gardner Minshew. He's going to make like $12.5 million a year. The Raiders don't care about that. Their cap space, the amount they're spending in cap for quarterbacks is minuscule compared to 90% of the league right now. They don't care if he's making $12.5 million a year. If Aiden O'Connell comes in and he plays really well and he gets hurt, they have an excellent backup, one of the best in the league. If Aiden O'Connell fails, guess what? They have a guy that they pay $12.5 million to put the team back on track. It's kind of a win-win for the Raiders. Yes, they could have traded up and tried finding their quarterback in the draft, but I'm glad they didn't. They stuck to their guns, and they got the best available player, in my opinion, in the draft at the time, which is Brock Bowers, who Devontae Adams is also raving about. The guy's saying this dude's unreal. Like, the things he's doing as a tight end, a bigger body at 6'3", like 240 pounds, just running around, absolutely pancaking people and juking corners out of their shoes. That says a lot about the pick that the Raiders made in the 1st round. He was the best weapon available in the draft this year when the Raiders were to pick. And they could have easily taken Flagga out of Oregon State because he was there, he's available. The Saints took him right after the Raiders did. The Raiders needed right tackle help. They could have taken Flagga, but O'Connell, Brock Bowers, the infusion of these young guys, I think it's really going to help out, especially on the offensive side of the football. On top of that, as we close the show, on top of that, when you look at the way the Raiders team is built, it's going to be physical. You added Jackson Powers Johnson, first round talent you got in the second round, right? He's going to plug and play right away at guard. Now you're running a C gap type offense. Like that is Luke Getsy's specialty. They're going to live and breathe in the A through C gap. When it comes to power, trap, duo, counter, they ran a lot of counter for the Bears. The Bears were the number 1 and number 2 rushing teams when he was the offensive coordinator for the Bears. You're telling me he isn't going to try and repeat that here for the Raiders? I think Aiden O'Connell is in the best possible place he can be because the Raiders are going to run the football. They're going to try and do it efficiently. They're going to set up play action, and you have a ton of weapons you can throw to now. I mean, think about it. Your weapons are this. Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the league. Still, yes, he had a down year last year, but you had a young rookie quarterback stepping up midseason after a firing of a coach, and you had to find your way. And he still had over 1,000 yards receiving last year, right? Jacoby Myers, double-digit touchdowns last year, played really well. Now you have Michael Mayer going into his second year, who folks believe has really progressed and gotten better, and Brock Bowers. And then the other guy, the unsung hero that nobody's talking about, is Trey Tucker, the speedster out of Cincinnati, who did have a really good second half of the season last year, especially on the deep ball. You have weapons everywhere for Aiden O'Connell to flourish by. All we have to do is make sure we're handing the ball off really well to our top 2 running backs and keeping our offensive line healthy and growing and progressing. And we're going to see a much better, much smoother offense, especially with the complementary defense the Raiders are going to be playing. Really excited about the season. And you can tell that Tom Telesco and AP totally have a blueprint of what they want for players, totally have a blueprint of what they're looking for to be a part of the Raiders roster. I can't guarantee they're going to win the AFC West. I can't do that because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. But what I can do is tell you that they're going to fight for it. And for a first time in a long time, I can confidently say that, which is weird. The last 2 years, I had zero faith. I'm sorry, especially when you start watching games and seeing coaching decisions that were made. Now I feel like, dude, we're in a position where we can wreak some havoc. Even if we're second place and get a wild card, we're going to absolutely beat up some people in the process. And that's what I love about the idea of the Raiders this year and the new identity that we're seeing. Hopefully everything, amounts in training camp. I wish nothing but healthy players. We have a tough season coming up because we're the AFC West and the Chiefs have won their second straight Super Bowl. So, of course, the AFC West is going to get a tough draw. That's just the way it is. But, man, if it's going to happen, it's got to be this year. It's got to be this year. I'm guessing 10 or more wins. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm thinking the Raiders win 10 or more games. Truly do. Truly do. You guys know how it is, folks. Every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the Sin City. This is the Sin City Sports Show on IE Sports Radio. You guys can check us out on IESportsRadio.com. Check out the shop, the merch. Get yourself some merch. Make sure you guys check out all the main platforms, right? We have YouTube. We have Apple Pods, Good Pods. You guys can check out IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at IE Sports Radio, where you guys can catch things, all sports here with IE Sports Radio. We're on every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Central Time, right? We're going to be on the Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson. We talk all things Vegas sports. As the season progresses, we're going to add more stuff. Now that we have video, we can start doing some creative things like whiteboard. I don't think anybody else does the whiteboard stuff here on IE Sports. I'm super excited to talk to you guys about X's and O's, whether it's UNLV or plays that we see throughout the week that we think are just super sick that we have to show off here on IE Sports Radio, here on the Sin City Sports Show. We'll be one of the only forums that does it, which would be epic. It'd be awesome. Set us apart. And as always, got to thank the viewers, guys. Got to thank the viewers for tuning in today. Got to thank the teammates. Got to thank Larry B for producing the show. But as we close the show, folks, you know what it is. This is the Sin City Sports Show presented by Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. You guys can get at us every Tuesday evening where we talk all things Vegas sports. As always, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Vegas. And love, peace, and heritage, folks.